day to you, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us for another edition. Last week, of course, I wasn't here live, but you got a rebroadcast, and the reason we chose to air that rebroadcast, to have that particular program rebroadcast, is because it was just a reminder that the People's National Congress reform is in the mode of celebrating 60 years of existence, and we thought it necessary to rebroadcast that so you'll be able to get an idea about the activities and the aim and so on regarding the celebrations. But as we head closer to the actual anniversary date, we will have more updates and so on from the PNCR. Today we're focusing on the education sector. Of course, the topic of the University of Guyana is no stranger to this program, and most of you would have read in the news during last week, of course, the latter part of last week, and I think the earlier part of this week, it was the talk of the UG School of Medicine, the fact that it has regained accreditation. And I have a team with me on the panel today to discuss what that really means for the University of Guyana and to talk a bit more about some of the updates and so on coming from the University of Guyana. I am going to start the introductions, of course, from my far right. Welcome to Facing the Nation for the first time, Dr. Ronald Aaron. Dr. Aaron is the director of the School of Medicine. Welcome to Facing the Nation, sir.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, I'm happy that it's a pleasure to be here. Immediately next to him is Dr. Emmanuel Cummings, and he is the Dean of the Faculty of Health Science at the University of Guyana. Welcome to you.
Welcome to you, and thank you. Welcome to the nation.
All right. And the father, every time he comes, I change his title because he's so familiar with the program, so I'm beginning to call him one of the fathers of Facing the Nation now. And he is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Ivelaw Griffith. Welcome back.
Thank you. Delighted to be an uncle of the program.
Okay, great. Oh, he said uncle. He prefers uncle. That's fine. That is fine. Gentlemen, we're talking about the School of Medicine, and it has regained the accreditation. First, from what I read, it was for 7 years. And Professor Griffith, I'm going to start with you.
Mm-hmm.
The first was for 7 years, and I think now it's for about 3 or 4 years. Let's talk about the difference, the significance, and so on in terms of how long should it really gain accreditation status for?
Well, I want to not only thank you for having the opportunity to have us share what the School of Medicine reaccreditation, the broader context of the Renaissance means.
Yes.
And I think it's appropriate to do a little historical tour. And I'm going to ask the Dean to do a historical tour to put the current reaccreditation in a broader context.
Perfect. That's perfect. Go ahead, Dean.
Right, thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. ComHP, and just for the benefit of the viewers, there's a criminal accreditation in medicine and healthcare professionals that has the responsibility of accrediting all healthcare programs across the region. Was established in 2004.
Yes.
And in 2006 was University of Guyana first. First it started with the University of the West Indies. That's the first program that was accredited in the region. And then subsequently went to the University of Guyana. We applied in 2006 and we got our first accreditation in 2008. That was for a period of 4 years. And then after that, we got provisional accreditation, which came to an end in 2013, when we lost the complete accreditation. Then we had to start the process all over again in 2016, and in 2017 to now. The program has been accredited for 4 years, which will take us to 2021. Just as a general summary as to...
Not to put a damper on the obvious need for celebration, why did we lose the accreditation? And just as a reminder of the viewers also.
Well, accreditation is a lifelong thing. Once you're signed into it, it's there for life. And so there's certain standards. It means a number of standards in which they use to judge and to assess the program of itself. And after that assessment, the body will determine if you can be the maximum of time given is 6 years, 4 years, 2 years, or provisional. Now, whilst you're being accredited, you have to do a progress report. Every year you have to, they would have identify a number of issues, a number of shortcomings, and so they would expect that you would address these shortcomings during that period, even while you're accredited. So it's not you get accreditation and you go and relapse. So you have to ensure that on a yearly basis you have to report on that. And I think something went wrong with regards to that communication line between the university and the territory, and that might have been responsible for us losing the accreditation.
All right. I want to talk, thank you very much, Dean. I want to talk about what it means, and I'm going to ask the question against the backdrop. VC, Professor Griffith, you described it, I think, as a signally important decision. Why and what does it really mean for UG School of Medicine?
I think it's signally important not only for the School of Medicine, but I want to start with the School of Medicine. The School of Medicine at any university that does not have accreditation limits what it can do and who it can attract. Limits what it can do in the sense that when it graduates students, the students have limitations on how flexible they can exercise that option to go look for jobs without scaling hurdles. But a School of Medicine that is also not accredited is limited in who wants to come teach there, who wants to come study there. And so getting the accreditation reestablished expands our ability to tap a pool of human capital to teach, expands our capacity to tap that pool of human capital coming to study. But let me say this. It is also true of every university where you've got a School of Medicine that the School of Medicine is a flagship, and it represents a beacon for the whole university. So the accreditation of the school is representative of a brand for the whole university. This allows now, in the recruitment for other health sciences, people to think of us in a little more credible way. In recruiting people for social sciences, nobody wants to go teach at a university that has lost its branding.
Sure.
The brand enhancement that the accreditation now enables us to regain enables not only the school that is reaccredited to be enhanced, but the university with that. But I also think that it means something for Guyana in the image and the branding of Guyana to have its only national university that has a School of Medicine. Regaining that accreditation is enhancement of the brand of the nation as a whole.
I'm going to come back to image and brand and so on, and what it not you're right, what not only what it would do for the institution of itself, but for the country as a whole. But before I even talk about that, Director Aaron, are you in a position to say how many students attend the School of Medicine specifically?
Well, in the School of Medicine, we have yearly intakes of about 30-something to about 40. So if you take that and you multiply that by 5, because it's a 5-year program, you have 200 as an average number of students in the School of Medicine at any given point in time. Add to that maybe some changes to that number with 1 or 2 students coming in at not at the beginning of the program, maybe in the second year,
yes,
and the number can increase a bit. So it's roughly at any given time just about 200 students in the program.
Okay. I also read that the VC talked about the fact that this is basically just the beginning, and there are funds required for a flagship program. And I think you also echoed some of those sentiments. Are you in a position to talk about the flagship program at this point, even before I come back to VC?
Naming the medical program a flagship program, I think, speaks for itself.
Okay.
It's the standard bearer, so to speak. And hopefully, by being a flagship program, we set the standards not only for ourselves, but as the Vice Chancellor alluded to, we set standards for the university. So the other parts of the university, other faculties and schools can then look to us and say, you know what, we want to be like the School of Medicine.
Comes back to branding.
And yes, and so it provides that impetus for others to look towards being accredited. Not just the impetus it provides, but it also says if the School of Medicine can do it, It means that we are just as good because together with the School of Medicine, we are all a part of the University of Guyana. It means the University of Guyana, with all its components, is capable of representing itself regionally and internationally, of performing to a certain minimally accepted international standard, and so we're capable. It is not something that we are unaware of. History will tell us that Guyanese do well all over the world. So we know that we have that inherent capacity, capability to perform and do well. But of course, there are other things that need to be put in place to allow us to actually perform well on a consistent basis.
All right. Even before regaining accreditation status, for want of a better way of putting it, have you been able to assess the possible negative effects that not being accredited would have had on the students?
Well, one concern of students, of course, and also for faculty members and the rest of the university, is that if you're not accredited, you would have to overcome a number of hurdles, as Vice Chancellor just alluded to, a number of hurdles in getting positions for internship, in getting job placements after internship is completed. But I must add that we have been without accreditation for just over a year, about a year and a half, during which time we've had a cohort of students graduate, and that was in November of last year, 2016. Fortunately, and this is not something that we did not expect, fortunately and expectedly, our students have not had any problems competing in the wider Caribbean for internship placement. And so, in that sense, any negative effects have been minimal.
Okay. What feedback have you gotten from, I mean, it's just been a short time, but what sort of feedback are you getting or have you gotten from students with regaining the accreditation?
Well, students are ecstatic, yes. I mean, that's putting it mildly.
But I want to come back to the business that you raised, Malika, of the investment for the brand, because the reality is the accreditation site visit gives the university and the school an opportunity to do some reality checking. And the reality checking allows us to see areas, even with the reaccreditation, we still have to complete the journey. I'll tell you two things which are cited as conditions for us to be mindful of in the context of that continuous improvement. And it's one of the reasons why we lost accreditation in the first place. The number of full-time faculty members to teach the requisite courses. And it's not a University of Guyana School of Medicine problem only. It's a University of Guyana problem. And so we as a nation have got to invest in finding the money and the facilities to have more full-time faculty. We also were zinged because of the link between what you have as full-time faculty and what research can be done. School of Medicine, in any place that I've been, is one of those engines of research, funded research. We have so few full-time faculty, and they're teaching so much, you don't have time to do research. And we have not been supporting the research with the equipment, the facilities, the funding for conferencing. So part of my caution is that we want to celebrate the reaccreditation, but the investment is still going to be needed to address those areas that are deficiencies. And again, not only deficiencies in the School of Medicine. Part of the reality checking is that we've got to be candid with ourselves and say, look, we still need to do better in full-time faculty. We still need to do better in the research support, equipment. Thankfully, we have an agreement now with the World Bank to provide a new facility for health sciences. But I want people to be comforted that we have a moment to celebrate, but there is still work to be done and investment. And the investment has got to be by the government and by others Alumni, this university has produced thousands, over 27,000 alums, many of whom are wealthy in many parts of the world. We need to be reaching them and asking them to give back. School of Medicine's produced hundreds. Where are they? Why are we not reaching them and asking them to provide, pay forward by giving back? Naming of a lab, naming of a department, naming of a scholarship. So I want to suggest that here's an opportunity for the investment in the School of Medicine, in the university writ large, to be there by people who have benefited from it and who will continue to benefit from it.
Okay. Before I come back to Dean Cummings, I see you want to jump in here. Professor, you've been on this program before, and you always talk about the importance of reaching out to the alumni and funds and so on. Thus far, have you gotten an and this is specifically for the School of Medicine, have you gotten an interest from, whether it be government, private sector, or elsewhere, in terms of wanting to pump resources into specifically the School of Medicine?
Last year, for the first time in UG's history, we got a supplemental subvention, $109.83 million. If we hadn't had that, we would not have been able to make it through the year, including funding the site visit. The site visit alone was, I think, $46,000 US.
Yes, quite expensive.
And so it's an injection of resources from the government, for which I'm thankful, that enabled us to do what we needed to do for the site visit. And I mentioned at the program earlier this week that I made a determination as a vice chancellor who has been at other places where accreditation has happened, that I needed to invest as a university in the success of the School of Medicine site visit. Because I had a sense that, and it's not true only of UG, that the school was virtually on its own as it tried to do its reaccreditation. I think that commitment of mine to bring the university to see everyone having a stake in the success, using resources from facilities, using resources from the library, using resources from the registry, pulling the university into the project. And so the contributions have been multiple. And that is why this afternoon I'm hosting a little reception, an appreciation reception. You're invited, 4 o'clock in the ELT, to say thank you to those entities that made a contribution. Signally important in this whole process of our medical education is what we do with the public hospitals, what we do with the clinics. And so they were major contributors. The site visit was not only regarding, and the standards are not only what happens on campus, what happens to those clinical facilities, what happens in the partnerships that we've got with them.
Yes. Dean, you wanted
Yeah, just to add that, this whole issue of accreditation, as I said initially, it's once you're involved, it's lifelong. It never comes to an end. And so once you have a grain accreditation for 2 years, 4 years, 5 or 6 years, the team will come again after that period to do an assessment. And so it's not just trying to meet those standards for today, but also trying to meet them for. And so it's a continuing investment, and every time it gets much more complicated. And also because being in accredited, having a program that is accredited, you also attract foreign students, and when foreign students come to certain basic facilities that they look forward to have, and the whole the standards evaluates all of these facilities. On campus, off campus, as Vice Chancellor said, the clinical affiliates and all of that, the staff of itself, the research capacity and all of that. All of those things are being assessed, and that makes a determination on your accreditation status. So it's something that goes on and on all the time.
Do you find that is a good challenge in the sense that it keeps you on your toes because you know you will be evaluated sooner or later? Is it challenging to keep the standards, Dean?
I think in the initial stage it was tough, but what has happened over the years, we have now gotten experience.
Okay.
And I think, I must tell you, in the initial stages, it were very difficult to have persons involved in the thing. What we had was like 2 or 3 persons who really understood what the thing was all about, and where the majority of faculty never understood. I think what we learned from the last site visit and what I saw was the involvement of the entire faculty. And I must tell you that evaluators also look at that. They look at that. What they do, they ask the same questions to different persons, right? And that's also by itself is a form of evaluation. They ask the students the same question. They ask the leaders, the vice chancellor, the director, the lecturers, the instructors. They will ask them the same question to see if there's similarity in your response, so as to ensure that whenever decisions are made, they're made collectively, and that everyone is on board with regards to the entire accreditation process.
Dean Cummings, over the years, have you found that you have gotten, especially the young persons who have these great ideals about becoming doctors and medical practitioners in general, have you found that you've gotten a flood of applications to be a part of UG UG School of Medicine? Have you had a case where you've had to turn down or ask people to wait until the other year, the following year or so?
Well, usually we attract over 200 applications per year. As Dr. Aaron said, we just admit about 35 or 40. Now, out of the 200, I would say about 90 of them would have met the requirements. And so we would admit the cream of the crop. Majority of those are Guyanese. We have a few over the years. We were able to attract students from Jamaica, Trinidad, the Eastern Caribbean, the Bahamas. And previously we were even able to attract students from Nigeria, and as far as Australia and even Iraq. So we've gotten students who came from all parts of the world. So indeed, we've had a situation where we could not have admitted everyone. And recently we saw persons even in their 50s and their 60s who have been applying. But really and truly, we try to give the opportunity to young, but not saying that we have an age limit. We do not discriminate, but certainly we try to get to track, the best students.
Okay, viewers, if you're now tuning in, today my discussion is with a team from the University of Guyana. Of course, we are talking about the fact that the School of Medicine recently regained accreditation status. Professor Griffith, you earlier talked about branding. You always talk about branding and the importance of image and so on. Can anything be done to, especially after these students would have graduated from the School of Medicine, what else can we do? And I guess here it would take the involvement of government, the private sector, and society as a whole. What would it take to keep these medical practitioners here? Because Dean rightly talked about students coming from all over the world, basically, and they no doubt will return to their countries, their homeland, to serve. What can we do to keep our people here? I know your release talked about prominent persons in society, for example, the minister within the Ministry of Health, who is also a product of that school. But what can be done to keep our students here more on a large scale to serve Guyana?
Well, there are several realities, irrespective of when you're talking about School of Medicine graduates or dentistry graduates or engineering graduates. And that is a reality that is beyond the control of the university. The reality is two-dimensional. The absorptive capacity of the society to really hire and take the graduates. And related to that, the remuneration. So, and it's a challenge that is not new, and it's a challenge that's not limited to the University of Guyana. But people are looking, once they have earned their degree, they're looking for quality, good-paying jobs.
Yes.
And sometimes those are not available in Guyana. But it is not only the remuneration that matters. There are things about any society, quality of life, that makes the difference as to whether you want to stay in one jurisdiction or go to another one. And there are some quality of life things that no university has control over. Give you two examples. Power generation in the society. If you graduate and you've got to endure in a jurisdiction where you've got this instability, as opposed to having an opportunity to go to one where there isn't, what are you going to do? And if you graduate and you are in an environment where particularly if you've got young kids, and you've got a crime-ridden neighborhood as opposed to a crime-free one, what are you going to do? So there are things about the society writ large that would be helpful or hurtful in having the products of the university stay and invest time and energy. We want to have as many of them stay and invest time and energy in rebuilding our society. But the practical reality is that this is a global village. People have got connectivity and opportunities elsewhere, especially since they've got family and friends elsewhere. And so it is realistic to think that a proportion would be mobile. How much you keep at home is a function of what we can do by way of enhancing their ability to want to stay by what you offer them as remuneration and what you offer them as a society so that they can raise their families comfortably.
If I can just add
Sure.
that, recently, over 10 years ago, we started a postgraduate program. And currently we have 10 postgraduate programs in medicine. And that was a strategy to keep a lot of the graduates home. And based on the statistics, we have currently in training over 144 residents across the different specialties. Some of them have graduated. And in terms of attrition, it's very, very low numbers. So we'll be able to retain over 85% of those in the postgraduate programs. But then again, the problem there is that to keep them here after they would have done their specialist degree has to do with the development of the regional healthcare, because we can't put 140-something specialists at Georgetown hospitals. Because healthcare is not only healthcare is for the entire country. And so we have to think in terms of Linden and Suddy and Berbice and all the regional hospitals, at least at that level. And so the strategies which we're doing, but also collectively as a country, we have to look at these issues and try to address them if we really want to keep not just doctors, but all healthcare professionals in the country.
Well, I have no doubt that we can improve. We can certainly improve on that and achieve that. I know I have to begin to wrap up today's discussion, but I'll begin with you, Dr. Aaron. If there's anything I've missed that you'd probably like to leave with the public again about the School of Medicine at this time.
Yeah, well, there's a lot actually to leave with the public. One is the need for continued support for the School of Medicine, because as we said earlier, the process of accreditation is a continuous one. So it goes on from now until eternity. It never stops. So there's always room for continued and continual improvement, and we will need the support from the nation at large. So that's one. Secondly, I'd like to encourage our nation's children to see themselves studying medicine at the University of Guyana. It is affordable in many ways. One, the quality of the education that you're assured about. Secondly, it's affordable because tuition is one of the lowest in these parts. Next reason why it's affordable is that for most of our students, our local students, there's no need to pay for housing and board and lodging and that kind of thing because you're at home.
You mooch on mom and dad. And
yes, right? And another reason why it's affordable is the fact that you're at home. You're in an environment with which you're familiar. So you understand the people, you understand how things work. So you're at home.
Yes.
And so do come out to come to the University of Guyana, to the School of Medicine. Yes, but I will stop here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aaron. Dean Emmanuel.
Well, just to echo the sentiments of the director, indeed, just to let you know that the School of Medicine has graduated very distinguished doctors that are practicing the trade locally and internationally. You didn't mention the Junior Minister of Health, the Chief Medical Officer, or a cardiologist, Dr. Carpen. Most of the leaders in healthcare, you go to head of orthopedics, head of accident emergency, they're all UG graduates. And if you even go to the United States, if I can mention this, there is one Dr. Ronald Ross who is now practicing in New Jersey. And when he was at Kings County in New York, many of the UG graduates were admitted for residency because of him. You go to Jamaica, there is one, Kevin Evelyn, who graduated with a credit, and he's currently the most outstanding postgraduate student in internal medicine in Jamaica. There is Keith Cummings, who is currently in Atlanta as an assistant professor of internal medicine, who's got one of the highest marks ever in the USMLE. And so you go to the United Kingdom, you have an orthopedic surgeon, and so there's so many outstanding graduates that are here locally and internationally. And so it's a good place to start your medical career, University of Guyana, and you can become a national hero as well as an international one. Thank you.
Perfectly said. Thank you very much, Dean Cummings. Professor Griffith.
Well, I want to thank the viewers and thank you for the opportunity to give an update. And I did promise the last time I was here that when we get this accreditation,
yes, you did.
I'll come back. But the accreditation of the School of Medicine is one of the celebrations we're having this afternoon. And it's a celebration of several other milestone achievements of the last month. We had a launch of our School of Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation. We had a wonderfully successful diaspora engagement conference where we launched the Center for Diaspora Engagement. And we had the investiture of myself, the 10th Vice Chancellor, at which, and not only was it the first, but we had people coming from Africa, President of University of Liberia, far away, and from nearby, signally important President of the Caribbean Development Bank.
Yes.
And he is sending a team next week to follow up our conversations of a number of areas that the bank will be helping us to fund to move this university forward. So join us 4 o'clock at the ELT, get some Guyanese champagne called coconut water, and some other wonderful things.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Viewers, if you're now tuning in, as usual, whenever I have a team here from the University of Guyana, it's always an interesting and edifying conversation. Those of you who are now tuning in and you've missed that conversation, as usual, if you follow me on social media, the conversation will be loaded to my YouTube channel before the end of the day, and it will also be posted to Facebook. This has been a conversation with Dr. Ronald Aaron. He's the director of the School of Medicine at the University of Guyana. Dr. Emmanuel Cummings, Dean of the Faculty of Health Science, University of Guyana, and Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Ivlaw Griffith. Of course, this is Facing the Nation. Stay tuned. I'll have more for you on the second half of our